The sports world just witnessed something absolutely insane. When three of the most powerful brands in tennis went to war over one rising star, nobody could have predicted the chaos that would follow. We're talking leaked emails, public call-outs, social media meltdowns, and a 20-year-old athlete caught in the middle of a corporate battlefield that threatened to consume her entire career. This isn't just another sponsorship story. This is the moment that changed everything in women's tennis, and you need to hear exactly how it all went down. Picture this. It's early 2026, and Eala, a fierce Filipino tennis prodigy who just cracked the WTA top 50, is about to become the most talked about athlete in the sport, not because of a tournament win or a dramatic comeback, but because $3 billion companies are about to turn her into the center of the most brutal business war tennis has ever seen. Nike, Wilson, and Babolat didn't just compete for her signature. They weaponized loyalty, manipulated public opinion, and transformed a private business negotiation into a global spectacle that left fans divided, players shaken, and the entire tennis establishment scrambling to figure out what just happened. Let's rewind. Just 3 years ago, Eala was grinding through obscure tournaments in small European towns, barely making enough money to cover travel expenses. She was talented, sure, but so are hundreds of other young players trying to break through. The difference? Eala had something special. She had the heart of a champion, the skill to back it up, and a story that made her impossible to ignore. A teenage girl from the Philippines, a country with almost zero tennis infrastructure, fighting her way up against players who'd been training at elite academies since they were 5 years old. She wasn't supposed to make it this far, but nobody told her that. In 2022, she shocked everyone by winning the US Open Junior Championship. Suddenly, scouts were paying attention, agents were circling, but more importantly, the marketing executives at the world's biggest sports brands realized they were looking at a gold mine. Here was a young, charismatic, hungry athlete representing a market of over 110 million Filipinos who had never had a tennis star to call their own. Add to that her growing fan base across Southeast Asia, one of the fastest growing markets in global sports, and you've got yourself a phenomenon. By early 2026, Eala wasn't just another prospect. She was a legitimate contender, climbing the rankings faster than anyone expected, playing with a fearless baseline game that had veterans taking notice. Women's tennis was desperate for fresh faces in Asia. Naomi Osaka had stepped back from competition. Chinese players were already locked into massive domestic deals. Eala represented something different, something authentic, something marketers dream about, the underdog who refused to give up. Nike had been with her since she was 16, a modest deal that covered her apparel and kept her in swooshes. Babolat supplied her rackets, a standard equipment partnership that most players her age would consider a blessing. It was stable, it was comfortable. But comfort doesn't build empires, and stability doesn't sell billion-dollar dreams. Behind the scenes, whispers started circulating through the tennis world. Wilson Tennis, one of the most iconic brands in the sport, wanted in. And they weren't interested in a quiet little partnership. They wanted to make a statement. They wanted Eala to be the centerpiece of their next-generation campaign, targeting the Asia-Pacific region, a market worth billions of dollars. At first, this seemed like standard business. Brands compete all the time. Players benefit from the competition. Everyone wins, right? Wrong. This was about to become something else entirely. This was about to become war. And Eala, whether she realized it or not, was about to become the most valuable and most controversial asset in women's tennis. January 2026. Eala's agent receives an email that changes everything. Wilson Tennis has prepared an offer that makes everyone in the room stop breathing. $8 million over 4 years. Full equipment sponsorship with exclusive rights to her image across all Asia-Pacific marketing campaigns. But here's the kicker, the part that made this offer impossible to ignore. Wilson wanted to invest in building tennis academies in the Philippines under her name. This wasn't just about rackets and endorsement photos. This was about legacy. This was about changing the trajectory of tennis in an entire country. But Wilson made one critical demand: exclusivity. If Eala signed, she would have to drop Babolat immediately. No grace period, no transition, no dual partnerships. It was Wilson or nothing. Her agent knew this would be a nightmare. Babolat had been loyal. They'd supported her when she was ranked outside the top 200, when nobody knew her name, when she was just another hopeful trying to make it. They'd given her custom rackets, flown her to their facilities in France, treated her like family. Walking away wouldn't just be business, it would feel like betrayal. But $8 million is $8 million. And the promise of building tennis infrastructure in the Philippines, that was the kind of opportunity that comes once in a lifetime. Word got out. It always does. Within 48 hours, Babolat executives were on an emergency call with Eala's team. Their message was clear and emotional. "We've invested in you. We believed in you when nobody else did. If you leave us for Wilson, we won't just lose a player. We'll lose face in the Asian market. We'll lose credibility with every young athlete we're trying to sign." They didn't just make an emotional plea. They came prepared with a counteroffer. $6 million over 3 years, plus equity in Babolat's upcoming Asian expansion. They couldn't match Wilson's cash, but they were offering something Wilson couldn't: heritage, loyalty, and a guarantee that she'd be their flagship athlete in the entire region. They positioned themselves as the brand that stuck with her through the struggle, the brand that deserved her loyalty now that she'd made it. And then Nike, who'd been quietly watching from the sidelines, realized they were about to lose one of the fastest rising stars in women's tennis. Their response was aggressive and overwhelming. Nike didn't just offer money, they offered global domination. A lifetime royalty deal on signature apparel, co-branded sneaker lines, partnerships with their biggest athletes like Serena Williams, Rafael Nadal, and LeBron James. They positioned Eala not as a tennis player, but as a cultural icon, a global brand ambassador who could transcend sports. The offer was reportedly worth $12 million over 5 years, the richest endorsement deal ever offered to a Filipino athlete. But there was a catch. Nike wanted her to stay with Babolat for rackets. They didn't care about the equipment war. They wanted the apparel rights, the lifestyle rights, the cultural capital. If she signed with Wilson, Nike would walk. Suddenly, Eala wasn't choosing between brands anymore. She was choosing between entirely different futures. Wilson offered legacy and community impact. Babolat offered loyalty and partnership. Nike offered global domination and cultural relevance. And then the worst possible thing happened. The leaks started. February 4th, 2026, a Tennis Insider account on Twitter posted a screenshot that would change everything. It was an email marked confidential, for internal review only. The subject line read, "Eala sponsorship final offer breakdown." The email detailed Wilson's $8 million offer line by line: signing bonus, annual retainer, performance incentives, image rights, academy funding, everything. Within an hour, it had 50,000 retweets. Within 3 hours, Babolat's counteroffer leaked too. Then Nike's numbers hit the internet. The bidding war that was supposed to stay behind closed doors was now front-page news across every tennis blog, forum, and social media platform on Earth. Fans dissected every number like forensic accountants. Analysts debated which brand made the smartest strategic move. And Eala, she said nothing. But silence wasn't an option anymore because the internet doesn't do quiet, and it definitely doesn't do nuance. The Filipino tennis community exploded with pride. "Our girl is worth millions," one viral tweet proclaimed. But pride quickly morphed into pressure. Fans started demanding she pick the right brand, though nobody could agree on what right meant. Some said Wilson because of the academy investment, because it would help the next generation of Filipino players. Others said Nike because global reach meant more visibility for Filipino athletes on the world stage. A smaller but vocal group defended Babolat, calling them the real supporters who stuck with Eala when no one else cared. The brands weren't staying quiet either. Wilson's official account posted a cryptic message: "Some partnerships are built to last, others are built to matter." It was subtle, but everyone knew exactly who they were talking about. Babolat fired back with a highlight reel of Eala's best moments, every single shot featuring their rackets prominently. The caption read, "Champions stay loyal," and the implication was clear. Nike didn't post anything. They didn't need to. Their athletes did it for them. Naomi Osaka retweeted a photo of herself with Eala at a Nike event, captioned simply, "Family first." The message was obvious. Nike takes care of its own. The pressure became suffocating. And then someone leaked the most damaging document yet: internal messages between Babolat executives discussing a Plan B if Eala left. The messages revealed that Babolat had already begun reaching out to other Filipino players as potential replacements. Eala's fans were furious. They're already replacing her before she even decides? One viral post screamed. The narrative shifted instantly. Babolat, once seen as the loyal underdog brand, now looked opportunistic and calculating. Twitter became an absolute war zone. Hashtags like Team Wilson, Team Babolat, and Team Nike started trending not just in the Philippines and Southeast Asia, but across the entire tennis world. Fan accounts created polls that got hundreds of thousands of votes. Memes flooded timelines. Arguments turned personal, then nasty. One side called Wilson saviors for offering to build academies. "This is bigger than tennis," one viral thread argued passionately. "This is about giving back to the next generation. If Alex doesn't choose Wilson, she's turning her back on Filipino kids who dream of playing tennis." That narrative hit hard, but it also created a backlash. Other fans pushed back aggressively. "She doesn't owe anyone anything," one post declared. "She's 20 years old. Let her make her own choice without guilt-tripping her into some impossible standard of giving back." Nike supporters positioned their offer as the obvious choice. "Wilson can't compete with Nike's global reach," one tweet argued. "If Alex wants to be a worldwide icon, there's only one choice." But Babolat supporters were the loudest and most passionate. They dug up old interviews where Eala credited Babolat for believing in her early. They shared photos of her holding Babolat rackets at junior tournaments when she was still unknown. They framed the entire decision as a loyalty test. She was nobody when Babolat signed her. Now that she's somebody, she's going to leave? That's not the Alex we know. The brands fed the chaos like gasoline on a fire. Wilson posted an emotional video montage of young Filipino players training at makeshift courts with broken nets and cracked concrete, ending with the text, "Imagine what's possible." It was manipulative, it was calculated, and it worked perfectly. Babolat responded with their own behind-the-scenes video showing engineers and designers talking about developing Eala's custom rackets, emphasizing how much they believed in her potential before anyone else did. The message was crystal clear. "We didn't just sponsor you, we invested in you when it mattered." Nike stayed above the fray, but their silence was strategic brilliance. When you're Nike, you don't need to beg. You just wait because everyone knows what Nike represents: legacy, dominance, global impact. But the toxicity didn't stop with fans and brands. Tennis journalists started picking sides, writing opinion pieces, either defending Wilson's offer as transformative for Filipino tennis or criticizing the entire spectacle as a vulture brands war that treats young athletes like products instead of people. One former WTA player went on record saying, "This is exactly what's wrong with modern tennis. We've turned sponsorships into gladiator matches. Alex Eala is a person, not a prize to be won." Through all of this, the debates, the hashtags, the think pieces, the Twitter wars, Alex Eala still hadn't said a single word publicly. Until she did. February 9th, 2026, at 11:47 p.m. Manila time, Alex Eala posted a statement on Instagram that stunned everyone. No PR team polish, no corporate jargon, no carefully crafted message approved by lawyers. Just her words, raw and honest. "I've been quiet because I didn't know what to say, but after everything that's happened this week, I think I owe it to everyone, my fans, my family, and myself, to be honest. This isn't easy. I'm 20 years old. I'm supposed to be focused on my ranking, my next tournament, my game. Instead, I've spent the last 2 weeks drowning in emails, legal documents, and pressure from every direction." She continued, "People keep asking me, what's the right choice? But here's the truth, I don't know. Wilson's offer is incredible. The idea of building academies in the Philippines, of giving back to kids who don't have access to the opportunities I had, that means everything to me. But does accepting that offer mean I owe them my entire career? Babolat has been with me since the beginning. They believed in me when I was ranked 300 in the world. They've supported me, trusted me, and treated me like family. But does loyalty mean I have to ignore better opportunities? Nike is offering me a platform I've dreamed about my whole life, the chance to be more than a tennis player, to be a global athlete. But does taking that deal mean I'm selling out?" The post hit like a bomb. "I don't know the answers," she wrote. "And I'm tired of people acting like I should. I didn't ask for this to become public. I didn't leak those emails. I didn't want this to turn into a spectacle. But here we are. So here's what I know. I love tennis. I love my country. I love the people who've supported me, and whatever I choose, it's going to be my choice. Not Nike's, not Wilson's, not Babolat's, and not the internet's. I'll make my decision when I'm ready. Until then, I'm asking everyone to please just let me breathe. The post went viral immediately, over 1 million likes in the first hour, comments flooded in by the tens of thousands, some supportive, some critical, some still trying to sway her decision one way or another. But the brands, they went completely silent. Wilson deleted their Imagine What's Possible video. Babolat pulled their loyalty campaign. Nike's athletes stopped posting about the situation entirely. For the first time since this war began, everyone realized they'd crossed a line. This wasn't a game anymore. This wasn't just business. This was a young woman's life being torn apart in public. Her words changed everything, but the question still remained. What would she choose, and would the brands or the fans actually accept it? February 12th, 2026. The announcement came quietly, almost anticlimactically after all the chaos. No dramatic press conference, no televised reveal, just a simple statement from Eala's management team. Eala had signed with Nike for apparel and Wilson for equipment. Babolat was out. The deal was structured in a way nobody expected. Nike got the global marketing rights and the chance to position Eala as a lifestyle brand ambassador. Wilson got the equipment partnership and, critically, the commitment to build tennis academies in the Philippines with Eala as a co-founder. Babolat received a private settlement, undisclosed but rumored to include a substantial buyout clause and a public thank you from Eala acknowledging their years of support. The internet had predictably mixed reactions. Nike fans celebrated. She made the smart choice, one tweet declared. Global reach plus grassroots impact equals perfect. Babolat supporters felt betrayed. After everything they did for her, she walks away, one post lamented. Loyalty means nothing anymore. Wilson fans were thrilled. The academies are happening. This is bigger than tennis. But the most interesting reactions came from other WTA players. Serena Williams posted, "Proud of you for making your choice, Alex." Naomi Osaka tweeted, "The pressure you handled this week would have broken most people. You're stronger than you know." Even players who weren't sponsored by Nike or Wilson chimed in, defending Eala's right to make her own decision without being destroyed by public pressure. The brands moved quickly to control the narrative and move past the ugliness. Nike released a sleek campaign video titled The Next Chapter, featuring Eala training in Manila, wearing the swoosh, hitting with Wilson rackets. It was polished, powerful, and everything the chaos of the previous 2 weeks wasn't. Wilson announced the first academy location, Quezon City, Philippines, with groundbreaking set for June 2026. They positioned Eala not just as a sponsored athlete, but as a co-founder and partner in building tennis infrastructure. Babolat stayed classy, releasing a public statement thanking Eala for her years of partnership and wishing her continued success. No bitterness, no drama, just grace under pressure. But the real question wasn't about who won the bidding war. The real question was about what this moment meant for the future of women's tennis, for young athletes everywhere, and for how brands treat the people who make their products relevant. Because this wasn't just about Eala. This was about how brands treat young athletes like commodities, about how public pressure influences and corrupts private decisions, about how social media turns complex business negotiations into moral referendums where everyone with a keyboard suddenly becomes a judge. Eala didn't just sign a contract. She set a precedent. She showed that young athletes can take control of their own narratives, that they can push back against unreasonable pressure, that they can make complex, nuanced decisions without being vilified for choosing what's best for them. But she also exposed the ugly, toxic side of modern sports marketing, the calculated leaks, the emotional manipulation, the weaponization of loyalty and guilt to influence decisions worth millions of dollars. The WTA remained silent throughout this entire ordeal. No rules were broken, no policies were violated, but everyone in tennis knows something fundamental shifted. The next time a young star gets caught in a bidding war, they'll remember Eala. They'll remember how brutal it can get when brands and fans forget that athletes are human beings, not chess pieces to be moved around a board. And maybe, just maybe, brands will handle these situations with more discretion and respect. As for Eala, she's back on the court where she belongs, training, competing, focused on what actually matters, winning tennis matches. But the question lingers in every locker room, every boardroom, every fan forum across the tennis world. Was this just a rivalry between brands, or was this the beginning of a new era where athletes finally have real power over their own careers and identities? Alex Eala shocked the entire WTA, not because of her ranking, not because of a tournament victory, but because she refused to be a pawn in someone else's game. The billion-dollar brand's war exploded around her like a grenade, and she walked through the fire and came out stronger, more self-aware, and more in control than anyone expected a 20-year-old to be. This is her story, but it's also a warning shot across the bow of the entire sports industry. To the brands, athletes are not products. They're human beings with feelings, families, and futures that extend beyond your quarterly earnings reports. To the fans, pressure is not support. Demanding that athletes make decisions based on your preferences is not loyalty, it's entitlement. To the players, your career is yours to control. Don't let anyone, not brands, not agents, not fans, not social media mobs, make you feel guilty for choosing what's best for your life and your future.